I'm here now with Congressman Tony Wied, who just introduced the SERVE Act this week. Tony, what can you tell us about that?
Well, my job as a congressman is to be a moral and ethical leader, and I think that's our duty as citizens here in the greatest country in the world, to elect moral and ethical leaders. We just saw the Stock Trading Ban Act, which I was happy to support, but it doesn't go far enough. I think right now in Congress we have, it's a career. Politicians are all over the place, and I think it's important that we go all the way. I think term limits are very important to have in Congress. We need to get that done. But I introduced the SERVE Act to really, let's go all the way with rooting out any potential corruption. And what it does is it says, look, you need a cooling off period when you're done in Congress where you can't be a lobbyist for 10 years or can't work as a federal contractor for 10 years. That gives ample time to cool off a little bit and not use your influence for your own personal gain. Our job is to be representatives of the people in our districts. We're not there to enrich ourselves.
Like you just mentioned, your bill sets for a 10-year cooling off period. Why is that the right number versus 2 years, 5 years, or even a lifetime period?
Well, you get to know a lot of people. You have a lot of influence as a member of Congress, and I think there needs to be a lengthy time period in order to, like I said, cool off, where you're not using your influence for your own personal gain, and I think that's a good number.
Tony, does the bill cover behind-the-scenes influence like strategic consulting or advising or government relations, or that doesn't necessarily require somebody to register as a lobbyist?
Well, right now it is as a lobbyist and also as a federal contractor. I think that's important. If you're overseeing contracts being given to companies as a member of Congress, I don't think you should go there to work, especially right after you're a member of Congress. So again, I think this is a great first step with the stock trading ban, but again, we need to go all the way. And let's root out any potential corruption, because I think it's important that Congress regain the trust of the people in this country.
So what would be the penalties for violations, and who would enforce that?
Well, we get into the details on penalties and enforcement. That's all. That's something that we'd have to work out. But again, I think we need to have this conversation. I encourage my colleagues in the Congress to get on board with this great measure. And again, I think it is important that we regain the trust as a whole in Congress by taking on these measures.
Now, this bill applies to anyone who's a member of the 119th Congress or later. Why not apply it to members who have previously served?
That's a good question. I mean, you've got to start somewhere, but I think, again, it's just important that we do this. It's important that we get this started and we move forward. You're going to have the most influence right when you get done with your time in Congress, but again, it is important that we restore the integrity of the institution.
Would you ever support a companion rule to address, stock trading or paid speeches, or SERVE meant to, stand alone?
Well, those are all good points. Again, we did have the stock trading ban, but I think we should be clear there too that insider trading of stocks is already illegal. And people have been held accountable. It is important that we make sure that nobody's ever using their influence in trading stocks, something they learned in Congress, and enriching themselves.
So what is your plan to bring bipartisan support to this bill? Are there any Democratic co-signers? And if not, what are some of the objections that you're hearing right now?
Well, unfortunately, we really didn't have much Democrat support in the stock ban. I am just introducing this now, so haven't gotten around to all of my colleagues on it. But again, I think it is important that we go all the way with restoring integrity in Congress.
Let's change gears here for just a minute. What have you heard about from your caucus about the voter ID, the SAVE Act? The president, asking for that, but leadership saying they may not have the support in Congress. What are you hearing on that?
Well, the SAVE Act, again, what it is, and I think people have been hearing about it. It basically says that you have to be a citizen to vote and just show ID to prove that you're a citizen. As a member of the House of Representatives, we have passed that over 4 times before this week. We continue to do it. Unfortunately, the Senate isn't in agreement, and they don't have the votes at this point. So we're going to continue to try to get it done. It takes 2 chambers of the legislative branch to get a rule passed, but over 80% of the public agrees that you should be a citizen to vote and just simply show your ID to prove that.
Wisconsin and other states filing a lawsuit today against the Trump administration, requiring them to comply with election and immigration conditions in order to get federal disaster funding. How do you respond to that, especially with Wisconsin requesting disaster aid multiple times in the past year?
I'll let the administration speak to those actions, but we were able to secure funding from FEMA for the the tragic flooding that we had here in northeastern Wisconsin. And President Trump delivered. I advocated very, very strongly for the great people of Shiocton, Fremont, New London, and those surrounding areas, and we were able to deliver. There's already resources right now for people to apply for those resources and help with really the tragic flooding that we had right here in northeastern Wisconsin.
What is the attitude in Congress right now towards the war in Iran, especially with gas prices starting to rise once again?
Yeah, certainly, with gas prices as high as they were during the Biden administration, nobody wants that. We did see the prices come down my first year in office. I do think it's time to come to a resolution. I think we needed to take away that nuclear threat in Iran, and it is my hope that it is wrapped up very quickly. And I think but also keeping people safe and making sure that there isn't a nuclear weapon by, these are radical, mullahs that are running Iran, and we needed to hold them accountable. And again, it's my hope it gets wrapped up very shortly.
And your thoughts about that resolution, which barely passed in the House but was rejected by the Senate regarding the war?
Yeah, I think, look, the president has the intelligence and, things from intelligence agencies, and the information he has felt it was an immediate threat, that a nuclear weapon would be used. But again, I think it should be wrapped up soon. That is my hope. I think war is always a tragic thing, and but again, they needed to be held accountable. So these are not easy. These are very complicated. And again, these are things that were 47 years old. These are problems from a long time ago. And again, peace and prosperity is always going to be my hope.
Tony, also on the issue of tariffs, the Trump administration saying that they will implement new tariffs as the older tariffs expire. A new report out this week says these tariffs have cost the average household nearly $1,100 and lost almost 4,000 manufacturing jobs in the state. Should these tariffs continue?
The whole idea of reciprocal tariffs and using that as a tool. Now remember, other countries are tariffing us. So these aren't necessarily new. They are used, though, in a way to rebalance trade, to bring about more of a free and fair trade. Unfortunately, there is no longer free and fair trade. There hasn't been for many, many years. But these are used as a tool in order to get other countries to live up to their end of the bargain. Canada does not fulfill their end of the bargain when it comes to many things with the USMCA agreement, for instance. So it is a tool, and again, the whole point of this is to negotiate free and fair trade, to reindustrialize our country, incentivize manufacturers, better paying jobs in this country so that we can export to other countries.
Finally, Tony, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap it up?
Well, I'm just wrapping up my first term. It has truly been an honor to serve the greatest place in the world, the people of Wisconsin's 8th District, and I want to continue to serve. Public service is my sole mission. I'm a political outsider. I will continue to work day and night for the great people of Wisconsin's 8th District.
Thanks. Congressman Tony Wied joining us in studio today.